news ever, which very few people are aware of yet, about climate change came out. The Climate Action Network new international climate change position, which was released in June of this year, is really what I'll be talking about. Now, if you've heard anything about climate change, you'll have heard about 2 degrees C. That's the so-called climate change target. 2 degrees has been a policy compromise that's never been based on the science. It goes way back to 1996. It's a really, really old and terribly out-of-date policy. It's bad, bad, bad news, which is why the new CAN position is the best news. And CAN International is now 900 organizations. So this is absolutely tremendous, because they rejected the 2C target, and they say 1.5 C limit, okay? And great kudos to to CAN International to having zero carbon explained in their position point and saying we have to end the fossil fuel era by 2050. The burning age has to be over well before 2050. And it's all going to be replaced because, as CAN says, we have no option. We've no option, okay? There isn't an option. It's all going to be replaced by clean, zero carbon, renewable so-called, everlasting energy, right? We're never going to run out of this stuff. And the amount of potential renewable so-called energy it just boggles the mind. I took a look at every source of renewable energy. Every single source can potentially provide as much energy as the world uses on fossil fuels right now. I mean, to me, it is so exciting, and the technology on the ocean technology and the solar technology, and the rate that this is improved, and the rates it's catching on, is just tremendous. You'll notice that they say emissions have to decline by no later than 2015. 2015 is next year. Brilliant, CAN International, because I don't know whether you remember or not, but I remember very well that when the last IPCC assessment came out, the AR4, in 2007, and they repeated that in order to avoid catastrophic climate change, we have to have emissions reversed by 2050. Now, this becomes very interesting because this gets into the IPCC and this incredible great Climate Action Network position. And one of the things here which is very important is 1.5 degrees C feasible? We're really up against the wall right now, and it is. So this is very, very important for people to know. There have been studies very recently, 2013, that 2 degrees C is not adequate, 1.5 degrees C is still really not adequate, but it's feasible, we can do it. But we have to act now. We have to respond on an emergency basis. And that's what CAN has done, you see. That is why I'm so excited. We have the whole of civil society and the whole world now saying we've got to have a climate emergency response. This is an obvious no-brainer. All right? Now, look at this. This is IMF. This is the International Monetary Fund. Every time they estimate the amount of subsidies being given to the fossil fuel industry, it gets higher. So it's now actually over $2 trillion a year. So if there's one thing that we can stop, if there's one thing that get up and go, we can do it, civil society campaign, activism can do, we can stop this. Now if we stop this, we literally turn the world around. The reason for that is that, as you know, renewable energies are pretty well cost competitive with fossil fuel energy. This is also great, great news. Everybody seems to have bought into the nonsense that it's a cost to mitigate climate change, right? Everybody has. I mean, even my environmental friends, I mean, they discuss how much the cost is. We've had 2 big reports now, okay? One from the World Bank, right, that say, no, it's not a cost. Of course it's a benefit. It's a huge benefit. If we read about the world for renewable energy, it's going to be the greatest economic benefit ever. And we're getting these kind of numbers now. So it is going to be the biggest economic benefit. And employment. To rebuild the world, which is what we literally have to do, okay, to switch from fossil fuel energy to 100% renewables, we have to rebuild the world, right? And that's a huge economic benefit. You know? It's complete nonsense to suggest that if you build a new coal plant, that's a benefit, right? Our economics, our crazy perverse economics, calls that a benefit. But then people are saying if we build a big solar array, which will produce as much power as the coal plant, oh no, that's a cost, because that's mitigating climate change. What we have to do as civil society is we have to form this huge global movement that Bill McKibben has been talking about. Never really happened. Time is now, because everything's going for us now, okay? Suddenly, we have everything we need to do it. You've heard me say about 1.5 degrees C limit by Can International, and not 2 degrees C. Now this is IPCC AR5. This is the worst case scenario. We're on it. We've been on it for the past 10 years, at least. This is what's called business as usual. That's called RCP 8.5, representative concentration pathways. And the 8.5 is just the amount of heat that gets added to the climate system. This one is their best case scenario. This is the best case. This is really, really important stuff now. This is the IPCC, all the scientists in the world, signed off by all the governments of the world. And you'll see this is 1.5 degrees C, right? By 2100. Okay? But that says that we have to get our emissions declining within a few years. This one here, if you see that this line is 2100, okay, this is actually rather important. The best case scenario, which is the blue one on the bottom, that is below 2 degrees C by 2100, and actually gets further below 2 degrees C by 2400. It's 1.5, and then it goes down close to 1. All the other scenarios, every other possibility that the IPCC put together is above 2 degrees C by 2100 and keeps climbing higher. So what this means, what the IPCC are actually telling us, or the IPCC don't make recommendations, it's very obvious, is we have no choice. Okay? We have only one option. The IPCC option is RCP 2.6. We can do this. We can easily, with not very much in the way of economic instruments, we can get carbon emissions into decline within a year. The mitigation Working Group 3 IPCC report, I was very pleased that they had the word transformation in it. We have to have a transformation of the world economy and a transformation of world energy. And now we come to emissions. Here's the best case emissions, this RCP 2.6 thing down there. So you can see that according to the IPCC now, it's got to slow down and plateauing. It's got to be plateauing now. And then by 2020, it's got to be declining. Just another view of this to show what happens between around now. We've got a plateau, and then by 2020, it's got to decline. So that's our future. We don't have another future. We literally don't have a future with fossil fuels. The future that we have, which is the only option with renewable energy, is the most amazing future that anybody could ever imagine.